as you guys can see, Pugnobon bringing the Norskins against ChosenOne and the Empire. Alright, so let's go ahead and do slow motion here as the players begin their approach toward one another. I'm going to have 4 Marauder Horsemen up front for this Norscan army. Also going to be seeing a front line of Marauders. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 by the looks of it. We're going to be looking at, for the monstrous infantry here, Fimir Warriors. So it looks like we have 3 of them too making up that front line. Armor sundering, armor piercing, magical damage. These guys pack quite a punch. We're also going to be seeing Marauder Chariots. So I'm going to see one of them here, and I think that's it. And for the leadership, we're going to have a Fimir Belfiend of Shadows, Penumbral Pendulum, Enfeebling Foe, and Malakos Mystifying Miasma, all going to be there, along with Arcane Conduit. Wulfric the Wanderer up on top of his War Mammoth is going to have the Hunter of Champions and Sea Fang on top of him. And there he is, just sitting. If only his feet could reach the ground, the poor guy. He's like a little kid at Thanksgiving, his feet just dangling off of his chair. One day he'll grow up. Now, for the Empire, going to have a front line of 3 unbreakable units. Going to be the Tattersouls, Regiment of Renowned Flagellants, as well as Sigmar Sons, ROR Swordsmen, and then just a generic unit of Flagellants from there. Going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Spearmen, 2 of them with shields up front. Going to have another Swordsman backing up the Sigmar Sons. Handgunners, looks like we have 3 of them, 2 units of Halberds. These guys do have that expert charge defense to negate the charge bonus of any unit. And then, last but not least, we have the Hammer of the Witches. Magical attacks, fire attack, no, just kidding, magical attacks, and other than that, a typical cannon, just with great accuracy. Going to have the Amber Wizard down here on foot with Transformation of Kadan, the Power Stone, and Call of the Wood, or no, Call of the Wild. No, that's the book. It's Wild Heart. Man, I always get those guys confused with Jack London books. Now, up in the very front, we will have a unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, usually a great pick against Norse because of Skin Wolves and Trolls, but no, neither of those are going to be in today's army. And then we have Marcus Wolfheart on foot, of course, it's the only thing he can do, with the Amber Bow, Focus Shot, and the Hunter Snare. Spirit Leech upgraded going down, and there's an Amethyst Wizard who I missed initially. Looks like that Amethyst Wizard will have Spirit Leech, as well as, is that Aspect of the Dread Knight? It sure is. Going to be letting his units cause some terror. Now, looking here, my goodness gracious, this Fimir Belfiend of Shadows, look at him. So much health. He's down to about a third of his total health, if not a quarter. And the Hammer of the Witches is not about to let up. And you still got Spirit Leeches and Marcus Wolfheart. Hammer of the Witches is doing some mean damage right now. I would like to see the Empire finish off that Fimir Belfiend of Shadows and Penumbral Pendulum going and do a nice bit of damage. I'm sorry I missed that, guys, but it does look like the Empire was quick on the reply and was able to avoid a lot of that damage. Handguns opening fire into these Fimir Warriors, doing quite a lot of damage. You can see the Hammer of the Witches continuing to fire away. Malakos Mystifying Miasma was on top of the Sigmar Sons, doing a touch of damage, and now we're going to see Fimir Warriors and Marauders dive into this unbreakable front line from the Empire, where it's really going to be all about how quickly they can shoot through these unbreakable units and get on the back lines. Otherwise, it will be a rough go of it for the Norskins. And here goes that Hunter Snare, and you can see all of the handguns opening fire on top of Wulfric the Wanderer, and he is taking a whole lot of damage, and it looks like a Manticore summon's about to come down too. And Manticores can be a surprisingly big pain in the ass for him. Going to see a Sea Fang come through here, doing some good damage to these handguns, but missing any other units. And at this point, it just kind of looks like the Norskins are on their heels a bit. However, their front line is now pushing through the Flagellants and getting towards those back lines. You have Halberds trying to dive in to intercept, but that's going to cause problem in the back lines too. And right now, we'll see if the Empire can keep up the pressure on top of these Norscan forces. But right now, Norsca looks like it may be finally getting into the cookie jar, so to speak, and starting to get on top of these range units and get them to rout. But honestly, at this point, it may not matter. And oh no, the Amber Bow missing miserably. It seems like those spells always target Wulfric, and that's why they often miss the Mammoth, which is just a huge pain in the ass for our Empire player. I'm sure he is bummed that that Amber Bow completely missed a target as big as Wulfric's Mammoth. But I mean, right now, balance of power going further and further in favor of the Empire, and it may very well just go to the Empire from here. Fimir Belfiend of Shadows is going to take a big shot, and this guy's hanging by a thread. No, 0 HP. He's dead. He's hanging by nothing. And from there, it looks like the Empire is actually pulling this off, guys. Knights of the Blazing Sun are still around. There's still a plenty of Empire infantry to defeat the large units like the Fimir Warriors. And I don't think the Marauder Berserkers can finish this on their own. So this was a very well played Empire army. Not the most orthodox way of going about it with the Empire box, but it worked. Well executed, and a GG to ChosenOne there in round 1 of this matchup. Yeah, Knights of the Blazing Sun are wonderful in this matchup. I usually see more than one, honestly. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the scores on each of the individual units here. And I do think it was an overinvestment in Fimir Warriors. I kind of like them, but the big problem with me, or the big problem with them for me, is it seems like they were brought possibly because Skinwolves and Trolls are often brought in this matchup, and maybe he was expecting a lot of Knights of the Blazing Sun, so he didn't want those units that are weak to fire on the field. But the problem for the Norskins, even with Fimir Warriors against the Knights of the Blazing Sun, is that Knights of the Blazing Sun have 30% magic resist, I believe, and Fimir Warriors do magic damage. So even though they don't have that fire weakness, they still aren't going to be the best against Knights of the Blazing Sun, because Knights of the Blazing Sun have that good magic resist. And then as a result of that big investment, it just seems like it was a bit light in other places. And I don't know, this is one of those matchups where I do think Berserkers for the Norskins can be quite good. They can just chew through a lot of the Empire state troops a lot quicker than their Marauder counterparts. But, you know, easy for me to say from this point of view, but long story short, ChosenOne played that very well. His army composition was solid. He had the long-range pressure, mid-range pressure. He had a net ability to punish him. He had a lot of chaff with minimal. He had 4 range units, right? 3 handguns and a great cannon. Other than that, what do we have here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 units of infantry, right? 3 of which are unbreakable. Looks like 6 of which are pretty much just cheap crap halberdiers, which have armor piercing and are going to be very effective against Fimir Warriors. And then you have the Knights of the Blazing Sun to play defense in the back line with all of the cheap spearmen. I mean, yeah, this is a good battle. You have Manticore summoned to help snipe a lord, Spirit Leech to help snipe a lord, and Marcus Wolfheart and Wulfric the Wanderer. This is my nightmare matchup, the 2 guys' names that I always confuse for the other, and here they are in the same post-battle screen. But yeah, so Marcus Wolfheart just doing some good damage in spite of that horribly missed Amber Bow on top of Wulfric the Wanderer. Just remembered I forgot to do the intro cards, but alright, I'm going to be lazy the rest of the stream and just not worry about them. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Extra 1,300 gold, so you can just So you're saying you can get 3 Skin Wolves and a Fimir instead of just 3 Fimir? That's quite the savings. But before I get too distracted, here we are. Let's go ahead and cover ChosenOne's army first as the red player, since we did blue first. For his infantry, we're going to have Spearmen, Rangers, Spearmen, 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 Rangers. Nice assortment of infantry for the High Elves here, and you also have a 3rd Ranger over on the far right flank. Other than this, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 units of generic archers behind that front line. You're going to have Lion Chariots of Trace in the forest right now. They have some decent missile resistance at 30%, and they're relatively fast with 82 speed. Going to be seeing a Mage of Life down here on foot in the forest. Got the Starwood Staff as well as Earthblood. And then on the left flank, you're going to be seeing some monster support in the form of a Flamespire Phoenix. And make that 2, 1 on either flank. So holy hell, that's a lot of Flamespire Phoenix action. Going to have Archmage of Fire. Going to have Kindle Flame on top, of course, to sync with those with those Flamespire Phoenixes, as well as the Burning Head and Fireball that is in her kit with an Arcane Conduit. Now in the back lines, you're going to see Illyrian Reavers. Looks like 2 of them going to be vanguarded and pushing through the forest to pressure the Skaven in the back line. Now speaking of the Skaven, let's take a look from here. Yeah, probably expecting an Abomination maybe, but also, you know, it doesn't matter if it's an Abomination or not. With that Kindle Flame, she can still give units 22% weakness to fire anyway, so should be able to work even without the help at Abomination. That was possibly the intended target. All right, Poison Wind Mortar is going to start opening fire, and they will be the first Skaven unit we cover. Here they are in the center of this formation. Going to have Clan Rats, Skaven Slaves, and more Clan Rats. And then a lot more Skaven Slaves. 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the back lines, Clan Rat Spears are going to form the defense with 3 Rat Ogres. Now, in the center, Unbreakable Anti-Large Armor Piercing Infantry, the Council Guard. Seeing these guys win more than 1 game for the Skaven forces. Just act as that anchor for the rest of the Skaven leadership. Have 2 Assassins, both of which will have Assassin's Trophy and the Concealment Bomb. And then we have a Gracier of Plague, kicking it up into full speed here. On top of that Plague Furnace, going into have, Gracier of Ruin. And then we're going to see Arcane Conduit, Vermintide. No, I was right the first time. Gracier of Plague on top of the Screaming Bell. Have the dreaded 13th spell, Vermintide, Unholy Clamor, Scorch, as well as Plague Rash and Wall of Unholy Sound. And here we go. Got 2 units of Doom players also pushing out to hit the High Elves where it hurts. And the Poison Wind Mortar is already getting a hell of a lot of value on top of those archers. And then there go the Doom players pushing through the Spearmen. And now the Clan Rats are getting that charge for free. And already 1 unit of High Elf archers is routing. Here comes a Scorch. Ooh, doing a nice touch of damage. Unfortunately, not the best angled. It would have, you know, been better if the most wide part of the breath hit there. But look at that! Dreaded 13th spell being used on top of these archers to completely eliminate them. Wall of Unholy Clamor is going down Unholy Clamor is going down right now, boosting all the Skaven units. And this Skaven army is just going buck wild here with a very heavy rush. Meanwhile, in the back lines, you do see that the Flamestar Phoenix and Illyrian Reavers were able to eliminate the Poison Wind Mortar, so a nice win for the High Elves there. Rat Ogre and Clan Rat Spears are pinning the rest of these guys in place, so we'll see who wins that engagement in the end. Over here, Burning Head going through the Skaven, the Clan Rat Spears, the Skaven Slaves doing a ton of damage, and applying that Burnt Leadership trait, so -8 leadership for all those Skaven units it's touching. Over here, it looks like we're going to be seeing Rangers doing some very good work in the frontline engagements. Gracier of Plague is going after him, though, and this is a close fight. Balance of power nearly dead even. Doom players back here eliminating the remaining archers, and I have to say the Skaven player doing a great job of focusing down that firepower from the High Elves early in the fight. Silver Helms going to be fighting these Doom, or sorry, not Silver Helms, the Flamesfire Phoenix going to be fighting these Doom players. the Council Guard summon is gone, and now the Spearmen can turn their attention to the Doom players. But right now, it's looking like the Skaven may start pulling ahead here. Gonna see Poison Wind Mortars shoot a volley off into this big blob combat, and that's going to do a lot of damage to the Rangers. But now the Illyrian Reapers have wised up and are going to turn around and try to eliminate them. But another volley getting shot off by the Poison Wind Mortars before these Illyrian Reapers could shut them down for good. This Flamesire Phoenix is taking quite a beating. You got the Council Guard, but here comes a Burning Head. And it did a lot of damage on top of the Council Guard. Doesn't look like it was overcast, so thankfully the heavier armor on these Council Guard, or these Storm Vermin, should help them avoid a lot of that damage. But, yeah, I mean, right now it just looks like with that Flamespire Phoenix dead, the tides are starting to turn against the High Elves. Can't count them out just yet, though. They do still have one Flamesire Phoenix that's very healthy. They still have their Archmage of Fire. They still have some Spearmen on the peripheries of the fight. And this Mage of Life is still around. Orb Lightning getting cast down. Looks like it may catch just a touch of the High Elves as they come running through it. And, yeah, this is just kind of snowballing from here, I think, because their High Elves really have nothing to directly engage this blob of death. 2 Assassins, a Gracier Plague, 2 Rat Ogres, and the Council Guard. And now they're coming to regroup and get on top of the Doom players too. And it looks like there was another Dreaded 13 spell getting summoned here. And these Storm Vermin with Halberds are going to eliminate both the High Elf Spearmen and potentially kill off the Mage of Life. Just really good target prioritization, I think, here from XMD Pugnobon. Eliminating those archers so early has really freed up his army to just kind of, you know, roam around the battlefield at their leisure. Because unless they had those archers shooting these Rat Ogres and the Gracier Plague, it's just like, you know, nothing in this High Elf army wants to just get into a direct melee brawl with this Skaven blob. Yeah, High Elf's just doing a good job trying to consolidate, you know, chase off the routing Skaven units they have on the run, and make sure they can regroup, consolidate their forces, possibly before they get back into any direct engagements. Zero, good to see him, man. Earthblood getting cast down on top of the Lord, the Flamespire Phoenix, and the Warlines of Trace, who still have 3 models, so that's going to help the balance on power quite a lot. And look at it, going back towards the middle. Still Skaven advantage, though. Got some Rangers that are in decent health on the peripheries. Unfortunately for the Rangers, there's really not too much that they're going to be great in combat against from here on out. Because, you know, Council Guard, good armor, will probably be able to negate a lot of their damage. And then other than that, it's just Rat Ogres, an Assassin, and a Gracier. So it's, you know, Rangers are great at eliminating all the Skaven chaff, which it looks like they possibly did in this fight already with the Illyrian Reapers. But now that it's just the Skaven elite forces left, we'll have to see how they do. Flamespire Phoenix is going to use its bombs now. I love it. Those bombs can do a crazy amount of damage. It's actually hilarious. So we'll see how they are used. I would like to see the Flamespire Phoenix save them until the High Elf forces maybe get engaged and the Skaven are in place, and then just start bombing the shit out of them. High Elves still regrouping, as you can see at a higher level here of the battlefield. Got some clan rats regaining their leadership over here. Spearmen in the forest that the Skaven are going to go eliminate, while the rest of the High Elves are starting to regroup. Fireball going into the assassin, but it's going to be a miss. The Skaven death ball is coming. Alright, Archmage is just going in for it. Rangers are diving into combat. Ones on the right flank will probably have a rough go of it. Ooh, Clan Rat Summon coming in too. But Skaven are starting to get surrounded. Will it be enough? Over here, here comes a Burning Head. Burning Head going through. Even if it doesn't kill the Skaven, the leadership debuff from the burnt trait is quite useful. But can the High Elves get any terror routes going on top of these Rat Ogres and Doom players? I feel like terror routes at this point are really going to be the only way the High Elves can pull this off. So Flamespire Phoenix is going to be incredibly important as this battle gets into the late stage here. More Clan Rats getting summoned. Flamespire Phoenix is getting routed, and the balance of power is really starting to shift over to the Skaven's favor. And I think army losses may be getting close to kicking in here, as pretty much all of the High Elf forces are wavering or routing. This Mage of Life has been discovered and is now not going to have a good day. Just belly flopping on top of her. I think the Gracier, is not going to block it. Fireball going to hit that assassin and do a nice little bit of damage, but will it be enough to turn the tide? I don't think so, but what is this? Over here on the horizon, you can see the High Elves beginning to regroup Flamespire Phoenix and the Archmage of Fire here. And then you're going to have both of the Illyrian Reavers pulling hard on the right flank with their awesome hats. These High Elves, they're tenacious. They haven't given up just yet. ChosenOne really wanting that 2-0 victory. And technically speaking, if this Flamespire Phoenix does pop its rebirth, maybe he can get enough HP back into his corner to, make this a much closer fight in the balance of power. Four Lions of Trace, the Lion Chariots of Trace, I should say. Taking a lot of damage, getting harassed by those Rat Ogres. The Flamespire Phoenix is now committed to combat fully. Burning Head is about to go down, which means Kindled Flame will pop, but still doesn't look like it's doing enough damage to win the High Elves this fight. But man, it's really coming down to the wire. The Doom Player and the Rat Ogres over here are actually terror routing now. But yeah, I just can't see the High Elves killing the double assassin with the Gracier. As great of a comeback as that would be an impressive feat. That would completely surprise me at this stage. No Aram Boxy Aram. The Council Guard are unbreakable, but they don't have any like effect on leadership. The Light Scab Plague Pack Plague Monk Sensor Bearers, that's a mouthful. The Blight Scab's Plague Pack Plague Monk Sensor Bearers Regiment for now has Demagoguery as its area of effect, and that does give immune to psychology to the allies within range, but, you know, the Council Guard just pretty much, you know, act as an anchor for leadership for units nearby by virtue of the fact that they're unbreakable. And units like having friendly units with high leadership nearby, and so they're definitely very good at, you know, keeping leadership high, similar to how, you know, the Blight Scabs Plague Packs are good at preventing terror routes. He is hitting his own units with those burning heads, but I think towards the end there, he wasn't, like, you know, the units in combat were his war lines of Trace, this Flamesire Phoenix, sometimes Lyrian Reavers, and Burning Head doesn't really do too much damage to those units. But on the flip end, the Burning Head just really wasn't what he needed against those Skaven units either, because the units he was really trying to kill off, like Assassins, the Doomflayers, and the Rat Ogres, Burning Head isn't the best thing to deal with them. So, yeah, it's a good game. But I think Pugnobon just played that very well. And can we just repeat? He eliminated all 3 High Elf archers in a very quick succession. So eliminating all those archers, I think, is the main reason why this battle was so Skaven favored in the balance of power for so long. If those archers would have been alive, then suddenly you could have seen Rat Ogres perhaps getting killed off, the Plague Monk, the Gracier of Plague getting shot down. But without those archers, without that fire support, High Elves just really had a hard time from that point moving forward. So, great games, and let's go ahead and see what happens in round 3, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's an ace match. Oh, Pugnobon. Crazy infantry. 5 red-crested skinks, 3 skink cohort, 4 skink skirmishers, 2 croxagores, 2 feral stegodons, ChosenOne, 5 Skaven slaves, 2 of them with spears, 2 clan rats, 3 clan rat spears, plague monks, council guard, storm vermin, poison wind mortars, warplock giselles, and what appears to be 4 rat ogres. Let's go take a look, shall we? So, now that Pugnobon won, let's go over his army first. So we're going to have 2 units of skink skirmishers on either flank for a total of 4. As I mentioned before the battle began, you have those 5 red-crested skinks that we mentioned, one of them in the back. Going to have the 3 skink cohort, the double stegodons, the double croxagore, and then for the leadership, a Saurus Oldblood on a Carnosaur, bringing the Amulet of Itzel for that 66% ward save. And then we have the Skink Priest of Beast with Flock of Doom and the Manticore summon on foot. So that's going to round out the Lizardmen army, and the scaly ones clearly just going for a big rush and terror. So we'll see if they can stomp, smash the Ratmen before the Ratmen shoot them up. Now for the Rats, we're going to have those Skaven slaves as the front line, with the spears on the right flank, by the looks of it. Oh, no, sorry, there's another one over here. Got the clan rats, and then you have the clan rat spears. You have the council guard storm vermin. You have a unit of plague monks, which actually will probably do well for themselves in this matchup against some of the infantry that is on the Lizardmen side. We're going to have 3 rat ogres. No, just kidding, it is 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4 rat ogres. Poison wind mortars, I feel like I already covered them, but there they are again. And then we have the Natty Boo Boo Sharpshooters, Regiment of Renown, Warplock Giselles. And for the rest of this Skaven crew, just making sure I don't miss anything, it looks like we have an assassin. This assassin will be on foot, as always, with Rival High Talisman and the Assassin's Trophy. And then for the leader, the Gracier of Plague, going to be bringing Arcane Conduit, Warpstone Scroll, Vermintide, Blessed with Filth, the dreaded 13th spell, Unholy Clamor, and Scorch with Plague Rash. Now, I have to be honest, like, I like the Warpstone Scroll, clearly there to counter Pterodon Riders. But this is an interesting Lizardman build. I usually see Pterodon Riders in some strength when Lizardmen are going up against the Skaven. But this time the Lizardmen just focusing for an all-infantry focused build. And we'll see how it pans out for them. Oh, I see Skroak all the time still, Aaron Foxy. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're going to see Skroak in the final best of 7 between Falcon and Soothsayer. But, oh, here comes a Scorch! That Scorch is going to do a lot of really good damage for that Gracier Plague. Looking at the frontline engagements, you know, the Lizardmen look like they're going to be pushing back and winning the frontline engagements, but what's really important is that this frontline is buying time for the Skaven to just lay down so much damage. The dreaded 13th spell getting cast down there. We have Stormbringer with Halberds summoned now on top of these Kroxigors. That's going to be bad news bears. It looks like the Skaven are going to be able to win this right flank engagement in a very, very decisive manner. But as I say that, you know, you see the Feral Stegodon, you see the Saurus Oldblood, and now it's actually the Skaven's turn to be a bit worried because their Gracier is taking a ton of damage and it needs to run away right now. Looks like we're going to see another summon of Clan Rats going down over here. Looks like the Skaven may not be holding back the Lizardmen advance as well as they want to be, but actually looks like the Lizardmen are going to call it off, start peeling back and getting away, let their Skink Skirmishers do some talking for a while, and across the board it looks like the Lizardmen infantry is just kind of gotten outclassed. Over here, going to see the Skink Skirmishers shooting into the Rat Ogres, who are making a lot of trouble for the Saurus Oldblood and the Feral Stegodon in terms of helping pin them in place. The Council Guard, or sorry, the Storm Vermin here should be timing out pretty soon. It looks like they're about to time out now. But look at that, the Saurus Oldblood is now routing. Natty Boo Boo Sharpshooters have taken some damage, but they are still keeping up that pressure on top of the Saurus Oldblood. Kroxigors over here tattered and running. And then in the back lines, you're going to see Skaven Slaves compromising these Skink Skirmishers. And the Skink Skirmishers are going to have nowhere to go pretty soon if these Skaven forces start pushing in from all angles. Another Scorch going through, and it just looks like the Lizardman front line is falling apart. Skink Priest is still in here. At the Manticore summon with some Skink Cohort in the back lines fighting the Skaven Slave Spears. Rat Ogres on top of one of the Feral Stegodons look like they will be able to win that engagement, but oh, it's over. A concession. The Lizardmen conceding defeat, and ChosenOne going to lead his way to victory with a very nice Skaven army. That was quite beautiful. It was very well executed, and I do have to say, though, this Lizardman army, I just think it's a lot of red-crested skink chiefs. Or, sorry, a lot of red-crested skinks. Not my favorite pick against Skaven. The armor piercing can be nice, but I think 5 is overkill. And could have saved some money by just maybe bringing more skink cohort. But also, it's not. I'm not a believer that you have to go with one style or one unit in every matchup by any stretch of the imagination. But it just doesn't seem like the skink skirmishers were able to adequately replace Pterodon Riders or Chameleon Skinks in that fight. Kroxigors, I like them, but also in this matchup I'm a little bit iffy on them. Just because, you know, when it's against Skaven, for the most part, you aren't worrying too much about armor. You're worrying about how to not get overwhelmed, so making sure you have something to clean up chaff quick. And then you're focusing on how you shut down the Skaven firepower. Although the Lizardmen got some really good gaps exploited in the initial engagements, and they were able to get into the back line, and they clearly caused damage to like the Natty Boo Boo Sharpshooters, the Poison Wind Mortars. At the end of the day, they just didn't do it quickly enough. Those Poison Wind Mortars, I know it only says 26 kills, but when they are just firing into a blobbed up frontline engagement like they were in that fight, this is when I desperately wish CA would implement something where it showed more than just kill count on top of unit cards. I want to see damage percentage output. I want to see, you know, amount, like HP healed on healing casters. I want to see like stats that actually reflect the unit for what it's supposed to be doing on the battlefield, not just kills. But hey, let's just keep pestering him, and maybe one day it will happen. But